Hi, I'm Sandy McDaniel. I'm so glad you chose to join me today because I have something you don't have, and it's called experience. I've raised my children. They're grown, which totally explains the color of my hair and how calm I am because my children aren't home anymore. And I've done 48 years of research and work with children. So starting back a few lessons, my intent is to share my wisdom, my understanding, my knowledge with you for one goal only, to help you do your parenting better. So let's get on it. If you had joined us last time or prior to last time, you saw the last lesson, then you know that we talked about when you scream and yell at children, they can't hear you. When you scream and yell at children, what happens is sudden loud noises creates fear. Fear cuts off your ability to think and reason. When you scream at a child, they vapor lock. Watch my face. They go away. And so they don't hear anything you said. It's not an effective way of communicating. And I invited you to notice how many times you scream at your children in order to get their attention or to power over them. I also invited you to look at my discipline system, to start implementing it. Because once you do, you will never scream at your children again. I was in Costco the other day and heard my name, so I turned. And a cute young gal was pushing a cart. And she had two boys, and I would say probably 6 and 5 years old. One was standing in the cart and one was sitting in the seat of the cart. And she said, "Notice, they are not fighting. Notice, I am not screaming." Thank you. If you use this system, you will never scream at your children again. Well, not never, because we're all human beings. But you won't need to do it as a way of getting your children to function and to mind. When you scream and yell at children, they cannot hear you. And the important thing is that you catch yourself doing it and stop. And catch yourself doing it and stop, because change is a process. Don't judge yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't get after yourself about this. These lessons are not intended to make you feel guilty or feel incompetent. It's the opposite. They're intended to teach you to do the things that you need to do in order to feel competent and to go to bed at night and say, "Whoa, that was a wild ride, and I did a good job today." Okay, so today I want you to understand that this is the most difficult time there has ever been to be a parent. And your parents need to be reminded of this because they tend to be critical. The generations before always criticize the generations that our own children. It seems there was some sort of book we read and we just do that. But see, what we don't realize is that this is much more difficult time. Let me give you a couple of reasons. Children don't go out and play in the neighborhood anymore. When my children came home from school, they sat down, we all sat down and had a snack together, and then they went out the door and they disappeared into the neighborhood. We didn't see them. We didn't know where they were. We didn't need to know where they were. When the sun went down, they would wander back home. Well, my son Scott had a little trouble with that one, but it wasn't because he was being disrespectful or disobedient. He was just busy doing what he was doing. But my point is that the fact that my children and other children played and went off and played and got to do magical things and be kids, and your kids don't, changes how you are with them. Look at your day. You know, from the time the kids get home, let's say from school, you've got to orchestrate a whole bunch of things for them to do. 1, to get exercise. 2, to get life experiences. So you become a herder, H-E-R-D-E-R. From the time the kids get home, this is how you're talking. Would you guys hurry up? Would you get your stuff together? What do you mean you lost your cleats? What are you guys doing? Stop fighting. Get off that. Do you understand how late we're going to be? I know you're laughing because this is your scenario. Because you're trying to get a whole bunch of little Labrador puppies to go in the same direction. And that is forever a challenge. Then you get everybody to Susie's ballet lesson and everybody to Josh's soccer lesson because everybody has to go. You don't leave somebody home with the neighbors like we used to. We go down the road and we yell, I got to take Kathleen to soccer. So you got Scott? Yeah, I got Scott. So that stuff isn't happening. So everybody goes. Now the children are sick to death of each other. So they're in the back of the car duking it out, smacking the heck out of each other, stealing each other's toys, because they don't want to all go together to Josh's soccer match. And then after the whole thing, you do that, you come home, you have to fix a meal that somebody doesn't look at and go, oh, God, I don't like that. I'm not eating that. And then you have to get them all to do homework and then get them to bed. And you stand in the hall like this, and tomorrow you get to get up and do it all over again. It's so much more chaotic than my parenting with my children was, because you've become herders. The fact that children don't go outside and play anymore has forever changed the face of parenting. The second reason is that there's a breakdown between the generations. My mother, who is 92 next month, she's 92, her generation were the Take No Prisoners group. Yes, sir. No, sir. Don't talk back, sir. Are you frowning at me? Oh, no, I wouldn't think about frowning at you. Because if you frowned at them, or you in it anyway, even slightly disrespected them, there would be a hole in the wall that you went through, big impression in the wall with your body image on it, because you just went through the wall. They took no prisoners. They were harsh. They took their love away. It was really hard to be a child in that kind of parenting. And the thing that they will say to you is, well, at least you minded. Well, yeah, we minded, because if they didn't, they would kill us. And here's the problem. When you raise children in fear, you do not get a productive byproduct. My generation are pretty messed up. We pretty much invented the whole field, or at least enhanced it, of psychology and psychiatry, because we were raised in fear, raised with parents who took their love away from us. And that does not work. So my whole system is based on the idea that we do not need to make children afraid in order to get them to mind. One generation teaches the next generation how to parent. That's the good news and the bad news. If you had dysfunctional in any way parenting, then why I'm doing this series is to help you rethink some of those places, to make different choices, to look at what you're doing without judgment, and to do it better. And each day to get up and do it better and not be so hard on yourself. You can't raise children in fear and come out with a sound byproduct. And shame, blame, and fear and guilt are killer bees. I have a newsletter that goes out. If you are interested in checking that out, go to parentingsos.com. Parentingsos, well, that's how you got to me today. But on parentingsos.com, you will find a place where you can click in and get my newsletter. This one is called Teach Love, Not Guilt. He was wedged in the corner of a couch, head down, his shoulders rounded. I walked over to his mother, lifting the baby out of her arms. Talking to the baby, I surveyed the cast on the baby's broken arm. Turning suddenly, I sat on the table in front of the 5-year-old boy. The baby dangled in my left arm. You didn't break your sister's arm, Cameron, I said, looking into his eyes. He exploded. Yes, I did. I broke it. I reached over, taking his arm. Did you twist it really hard and make it break like this? He jumped forward on the couch. No! I leaned in close to him. You rolled her over, and her arm stayed behind her. Her arm got broken, but you didn't break it. You were just there when it happened. I watched him sorting out my words. He looked at me with his puppy eyes, so I continued. You've been really sad about this, haven't you? Show me where the big sad is inside of you. He pointed to his heart. I repeated what I had said before about just being there when it happened. You don't need to be sad anymore, Cameron. I have a bottle here with some essential oils in them. The oils will help her arm to heal itself really fast. I need to teach someone how to put oils on the baby every day. Cameron launched off the couch. I can do it! I showed the boy, whose light had gone out in his heart, how to put the oils on his baby sister. He very carefully did what I asked, unafraid to touch her. The baby cooed at her brother, and so he kissed her. When it was time to go, I put Cameron into his seatbelt in the car. We learned something important today. You did not break your sister's arm. You were just there when it happened. There is still some sadness inside of you. Let's do some magic. I'm going to grab this sadness out of your heart, and then you and I are going to blow it away. I closed my hand over his heart area, turned to the open space and the door provided, and the boy and I blew it away. Cameron looked at his chest, then at me. His eyes were wide with amazement. It's gone! I smiled and patted his hand. Attaboy. So many children carry guilt into their adulthood. Guilt destroys, love heals. If you want to be technical, Cameron rolled the baby over, which invited the arm to be broken. He needed to learn to be softer with the baby. I teach parents to teach their children to take responsibility for their choices. Didn't I let Cameron off the hook? My answer comes in the form of a question. Isn't the point of teaching anything that a lesson is learned? Life is the question. Love is the answer. There is no point in brutalizing this boy any further. If you use guilt to motivate your children, begin today and choose love instead. If you are blessed that your parents are still alive, chances are pretty good that you're dealing with some criticism from them about how you parent your children. You know, in the good old days, we never let our children talk like that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They can't possibly know what you're up against with this kind of parenting, that parenting has changed so much. And so what you need to do is not get mad at them and not get defensive. Just say, you know, thank you for your information, and go on and do the best you can. But don't get upset and don't carry the rock of anger on your back because they don't see you as a good parent. You're doing the best you can. And they did the best they can. And here's the bottom line. You have the same right to mess up a human being's life as they did. So do it your way and do it the best you can. And I've said that twice. And I'm okay with that. Next session, we're going to talk about one of my great passions, the effects of television and media on children. And it's not good news, but it is the third reason that it's more difficult to parent children today than in any other time. Your homework today is to notice how much you use emotional blackmail as a way to motivate children. You hurt my feelings. You made me angry. You are a disgrace to the family. Take your love away. How many times do you do that? And once again, if you use my discipline system, if you use the things that I am teaching you here, then that will all go away because you won't have to do it anymore. The only reason we use negative techniques is because somebody about this tall has more power than we do, and we're much taller. And it's very frustrating to have some little person stand up to you, and then you try something, it doesn't work, you try something, it doesn't work, you try something, it doesn't work, so then you go back to what was modeled for you by your parents. There's another way, and I am leading the way of showing you that. Parenting, it's the hardest job in the entire world. Do your best. and know that your best is good enough. And tomorrow, try to do it a little better. I'll see you next time. This is Sandy McDaniel.